and gentlemen, I'm Larry Jones, and I'm glad to be here. How about you? Yeah. I had to bust my butt to get here, went over the hill, over to Sylvan like crazy from the car lot to get here, but I'm glad I'm here. And in this segment of the show, we talk about what we like and what we don't like, what we love and what we hate. And what the theme I'm going to talk about now is atmosphere. Okay, now nobody talks about atmosphere. People don't talk about the weather that much. Anybody notice how much crazy stuff has been going on in the weather? It's snowing in 74 in Tampa, Florida. Okay? It's snowing and crazy weather, unpredictable weather in many places of the world. We at Ground Zero Lounge, Clyde himself is the non-pareil weatherman. We're trying to predict things. And why is that? Because the weather is a paradigm, is a symbol for what the status quo thinks of as control. Think of it as this. The weatherman says it's going to be partly sunny tomorrow. When he's wrong, when it's hailing like it was today, what does he say? Nothing. For the partly sunny, he takes credit for it. And that's kind of spin is what's happening from the government on everything. The weather is happening. I mean, it's not just global warming. It's not just solar radiation. And for those who are investigating it, the radiation from the sun is at its highest peak in millions of years. Something is happening very strange to the planet. We don't know exactly the cause. Emissions, perhaps. Pollution, perhaps. But I think there's something going on inside us. The emissions, the pollution inside us, the whole atmosphere, that includes the food chain. Yeah? Okay? Did that put a chill in anybody's back? Anybody's spine? Chill a little bit when their pet, now maybe their pet didn't die, but somebody's pet did. And all that has to do, I mean, if all the McDonald's had the same poison as the pet food, they don't control it. It's atmosphere. Now, there are those that say the atmosphere just happens, that it's an accident. Science tries to predict it. Remember, let's all go back thousands and millions of years to caveman times or prehistorical times, when any effect of the weather, a lightning storm, an eclipse, any of these natural events, sudden storms, typhoons, were the act of God or gods. We couldn't understand it. In some respect, science developed and evolved in a way to explain the weather, outside and inside. It has taken us a long time to understand the weather that's going on inside us. When you see in the news reports of random killings, when you see in the news reports of babies drowning their infants, when you hear all kinds of murder, mayhem, and perversion, then you know that inside the weather is bad and unpredictable. Something strange is going on, and there are those who are trying to profit from it. Here at Ground Zero Lounge, and we're coming to you live from Portland, Oregon, from Dantes, famous Dantes, we connect the dots. We want you to know that these weather patterns are not just accidental. These weather patterns inside us are not just accidental. These random acts of violence that happen always are followed by repression. The fascist state that we have came from what? A terrorist act, a purported terrorist act, an act of violence. To turn the screw even more will be another act of violence. A hurricane in the human psyche, if you will. A tsunami of the will. In order to understand what's happening inside us, it's helpful to understand what's going on outside us. In ancient China, when the weather patterns were as crazy as this, it meant that the mandate of heaven had passed from the emperor to somebody else. That was a sign. Natural calamities meant that the emperor no longer had the mandate of heaven. Now, in our current situation, where we have snow and sunshine at the same time, when we have a growing season in Canada that lasts all year, when the polar bears are dying, the fish are dying, the bees are all gone, our atmosphere, our environment is changing so rapidly in front of our eyes, we're not connecting the dots because we could be next. And because somebody is manipulating this weather patterns inside and outside for their profit and for our doom. And who better to talk about doom than the master of Ground Zero himself, Clyde Lewis. Come on up, Clyde. Who better?
Instead of the MC, I'm the MD, the master of doom. Master of doom. How many people had a great Easter by applause? Really? I hate Easter. I really do. I've said that many times here, huh? I'm not going to go on and on about how I hate Easter. But I'll tell you what happened to me is really screwy, crazy. I almost made the Easter Bunny my house slipper. I'm not kidding you. I was going up, I rolled out of bed on Sunday, okay? And what does Clyde do when he rolls out of bed on Sunday? He throws on whatever he finds, a hat, a pair of glasses, rolls up to the Ross Island grocery as I'm walking up there. Sitting on the ground was a rabbit. I'm not kidding, a big brown rabbit. Now we all know who this rabbit belongs to, but we're wondering why the hell this rabbit was out and about, lost. See, we have a neighbor that lives up the street that has a rabbit he calls Bun Bun. Bun Bun got loose. So how unique is it that I almost stepped on the damn thing at Easter? So I took a picture of myself holding the rabbit. If you go to my MySpace, myspace.com/groundzeroradio, I'm holding that rabbit up to my face. And believe me, I look like a serial killer. A serial killer with a rabbit friend. A little imaginary bunny buddy friend. But it was funny because we actually took a picture. I thought it was really cute, really funny. And people are not getting the joke. Some people are. They think, oh my God, what's he going to do with the rabbit? But it's funny because those types of things, these coincidences and strange things happen to me a lot. And they happen to you too if you just look for them. Meaningful coincidences are everywhere. You just need to pay attention to the meaningful coincidences. And once you do, you pretty much figure out what's going to be happening next. Like some strange meme comes out and jumps out at you and tries to get you to pay attention. And if you don't pay attention, you'll either get your ass kicked later on. I've been trying to tell people to pay attention to those things, those clues, those dots, start connecting them. Start watching the weather. Start watching the storms we've been in. And as Larry said, not just the weather that's outside, but the weather that's inside. And the atmosphere, that's F-E-A-R, the atmosphere that everybody seems to be in the grip of right now. That these nightmares that they're generating for you to pay attention to are there for a reason. And there are many people that are coming forward and becoming apologists for the atmosphere. Okay? How many people here in the room have seen the movie An Inconvenient Truth? By applause. Now, I'm not going to, ooh, hello, what's going on? I'm getting fuzzy.
Something's
I'm
happening to
not,
your sound.
bum, bum, bum. Can you get a better microphone? There we go.
That's better.
I'm not going to diss the movie completely. I'm not going to diss Al Gore for his attempts to let us know about what's going on in the world as far as global warming is concerned, because yes, the solar variation is happening on the planet right now. It's not only happening on this planet, it's happening on Mars. How many people saw that hexagon on Saturn the other day? Not very many people, huh?
Didn't see it. Where was it?
They had it on the space websites. They had this picture of Saturn, and up above it on the pole was this hexagon. I hear some people say, hey, I saw it. Many people saw it? No? No, you didn't see it. It's pretty spooky. There are a lot of things going on out there too that are very, very interesting. And I don't know what it all means, and I have no theory, I have no speculation, I have nothing, because I am dumbfounded by it. I am so dumbfounded by all of the events that are happening right now in the whole galaxy, in the entire universe. But what makes it cool is that it's just so unpredictable and so fascinating that not only is it a scary time to be alive, but it's one of the coolest times to be alive. This is the future. This is no test. This is you in your future without the flying cars and the Jetsons, but hey, it's still the future, and it's what we make of it that matters. And whether or not you think it's scary or fun or some thrill ride is your choice. For me, it's all of it. It's a thrill ride, it's scary, and it's fun. And in some cases, it makes for good radio, and it makes for good internet broadcasts, and it makes for good televised broadcasts on Google. Let's thank Robert once again for videotaping the show tonight. Give loud and proud for Robert, it's good.
All the internet fans, too, who don't have the opportunity to have a Ground Zero Lounge in their town, but they're at it. There's Boston, some other towns.
Chicago.
Chicago.
Yeah, I'm going to try something. That's trade lines. Don't cross the lines. There we go. Since I thought, well, it's happening again, isn't it?
It's you.
Hold on a second.
See, it sounds perfect.
Is it me? It's both of us. It's happening to both of us? Okay. I don't know what's going on because it really, really is freaking me out.
Now,
It's trying to fix it here. Something's up. Maybe it's the chords, maybe it's something, because it seems like if I make my body do this, or if I make my body do this, or something, see, it sounds better when I do that. So I'm going to do the show this way the whole night.
You don't need the mic.
Oh, shoot, it doesn't work.
Okay, well first I'm changing Larry's.
Okay, he's going to change Larry's. We're doing some technical adjustments right here. Ladies and gentlemen, Stevie, give Stevie a hand because he's doing our adjustment.
This is the exciting part of the
This is the exciting, and this happens sometimes. We do have technical difficulties with the show.
You know, we had to rehearse this at least 10 times to get it right.
Yeah, we didn't do rehearsal tonight because Larry had to sell a used car. Or something.
And now it's Clyde's turn.
And now it's mine. Okay, now he's going to switch mine. There we go. While we're switching, well, anyway, hold on a second. Is it switched? No. Hello? Test? No.
You're pointing to this end. You're quiet for once.
Quiet for once.
Very good, Stevie.
I'm on stage with this guy and you say I'm quiet for once? Yeah. That's a good one.
Okay, so I'm trying to think of where was I? I was talking about. Anybody want to tell me what I was talking about?
What are we talking about?
I was talking about the hexagon. Mega hexagon on Saturn and how it's all bizarre, and I don't know why or what it is that's happening out there. But you know, how many people have seen crop circles and they thought aliens were involved in some way by applause? Well, now we're seeing that these shapes are what? They're natural. Unless some alien is controlling Saturn, right? Which may or may not happen, I don't know. But the world itself mentally is changing. We're evolving. Some of us are evolving for the better. Some of us aren't evolving for the better. There are many people that think themselves into a new evolutionary way. They're thinking and understanding that our responsibility is the future. We can't just lay back and let them control our future, because if we do, then we're going to end up being slaves. Slaves to their whims, slaves to their power, slaves to what it is they want to do. You see, people wonder why these men or these groups want control of the weather, or want control of the armies, or want control of the skies, or want control of space. And I went into that last week a little bit. I talked about Peterson Air Force Base out there in Colorado. And I was talking about how out there at Peterson Air Force Base, the 50th Space Wing says that they are masters of space. They call themselves the masters of space. And that comes from a time way back in the 40s where we brought the masters of race here to this country to operate our CIA and to operate our space program. I've talked about this before, and you can look this up. Project Paperclip brought from Germany to the United States Nazi war criminals to operate the CIA and NASA, our space program. Because they have the knowledge and they have the technology and the knowledge that we wanted to harness, because it was important to know that if we could go up into space and control what was up there, then we would be able to control what goes on down here. Why would anyone want to waste money and time with one soldier on the corner, keeping everybody in line, when an eye in the sky can do the work for everybody? When the gods can rule from up there, and you, the peons, can scramble like ants below. That is what they're heading for. If you were to go online and you were looking at Space Command's goals, their goal is by 2020 to have full superiority of outer space. You can look that up. Space Command's goals for 2020. How many people remember back when Katrina happened? The hurricane came in, blew everything to hell. President Bush, did he say we're going to give aid to the people in Louisiana? Yeah, a little bit, whatever. But what was this big announcement after the hurricane? We're going to the moon. We're going to the moon. We're going to go to the moon in 2020. Forget about what's going on down here. We're going to the moon. Now, he did that. He did that, and he said we were going to go to the moon. And people were going, wait a minute, we haven't even put any money forward. We haven't put any money forward for aid to the people in Louisiana. What makes him think that we have the money to go to the moon? It's like, you know, the weather people have said now that there's going to be a worse hurricane season ever. They said that last year, by the way. You know that. That didn't happen. But saying this year, for sure it's going to happen. We're going to have bad hurricanes. And you know, they're going to have, and FEMA says, oh, we're on the ready now. We're on the ready now. You know what they're going to send all the aid to the fucking moon. That's how stupid they are. But Bush said we're going to go to the moon in 2020. And I call shenanigans. Yeah. Here's a guy that doesn't believe we went back in '69. What makes you think we're going to go to the moon in 2020? I'll tell you what we're not going to go to in 2020. Simple deduction. How many people are aware that we're blowing shit up in space right now by applause? They're blaming the Chinese for blowing satellites out of the sky. How many people, I talked about this a little bit, how many people heard about the Chilean airliner that was flying over New Zealand and then into Colorado, and they were dodging things coming out of the sky, fiery debris coming down out of the sky? How many remember that thing that blew up over Denver, Colorado? We had it up here on the screen. Yeah, a lot of people. Yeah. Don't be afraid to applaud. They're hearing you online, so applaud loudly if you heard it. Okay. I mean, this isn't church, all right?
This is ground zero.
Anyway, so we've seen these things happen. We've seen these things blow up. We saw that video where that guy thought he was looking at Venus and it exploded and he about shit his pants. You know, Venus just exploded. Shit, man, we're in trouble. These are things that are blowing up all the time in space. Now, how many people know what happens when you blow something up in space? What does it create? It creates what? Space junk. Space junk. Create space junk. So, if we keep testing these laser weapons on things in space that just blow up real good, guess what that does to the area around the Earth? It makes it a landmine field for space ships and space stations. Something the size of a paint chip going thousands of miles per hour can hit something like a bullet and blow a hole in it huge and destroy any chances of us going to the moon. That's okay. It's okay, because they're testing the effects of moon dust on lungs and on rovers and on things. Don't have enough moon dust, so what they're doing is they're faking it. They're faking tons of moon dust so they can test that stuff, because of course NASA doesn't fake anything, although on their website they say they are faking moon dust. Because Bush knows, and everyone else knows, that if there's some alien threat out there or some other threat from outer space, and they're going to be blowing the shit out of it before it even hits the Earth. Because they have laser weapons and they have all kinds of other toys that they're playing with right now. And you know where they're playing with it? They're not only playing with it up in space, but they're playing with it on you. And they're playing with it on the people of the Middle East. I was reading something the other day, it scared the shit out of me. There's a report going around out of Canada right now, where a group of people are exposing what is really going on in the Middle East with weapons. Not only are they creating that nuclear dandelion I talk about, where they're spreading all that nuclear shit from the depleted uranium, but they're also firing laser weapons from space on unsuspecting targets. And here's the thing that's most scary about these things. How many people see the movie War of the Worlds by applause? How many people remember that those bodies would basically turn into dust and their clothes would be left intact? You know, that doesn't come from any myth, people. It's happening in the Middle East right now. They're finding attacked buses that have been melted to the size of Volkswagens. And inside them are nothing but clothing. And the people, their bodies are gone. Some people are found in burned out cars with arms missing and legs missing and heads missing, but the torsos and the skin and the clothing not burned at all. Doesn't that make you feel a little weird that they're testing these things? I want to read you a quote that I got from the website that I was reading. It was a Canadian news website. They were talking about an American journalist who was talking to the secretary. Actually, they were talking to Donald Rumsfeld. And the question that the journalist asked, can I ask you a question about some of the technology that you're developing to fight the war on terror, specifically directed energy and high-powered microwave technology? Do you, well, when do you envision that you can weaponize that type of technology? Donald Rumsfeld's reply was, goodness, for the most part, the kinds of things you're talking about are in the very early stages. Then he looks at General Myers, Mr. Space Command, 50-wing masters of space. Do you want to have anything to say about that? General Myers says, well, I don't think I would add much. I think they are in early stages and probably not ready for deployment at this time. Rumsfeld then says, in the normal order of things, when you invest in research and deployment and begin a developmental project, you don't have any intention or expectations that one would use this type of weaponry. On the other hand, the real world intervenes from time to time, and you reach in there and take something out that is still in the developmental stage, and you might use it. So your question is not answerable. It is, well, it depends on what happens in the future and how well things move along the track, and whether or not someone feels it's appropriate to reach into a developmental stage and see if something might be useful, as was the case with the unmanned aerial vehicles. What Donald Rumsfeld is saying there, for those of you that don't speak monkey, is that they're using weapons, microwave weapons and laser weapons on the people of the Middle East.
And Clyde, this goes back to another show that we did before about pretext. If we think back upon it, in addition to all the other motives that we have for not being in this Iraqi war, one of the motives, one of the lies, or one of the real motives of the military is this, is that we need to test these weapons out in a skirmish. It's like a testing ground for the war to come with Russia or the war to come with China. That's why the Middle East, we needed to test these weapons out.
Would somebody give the microphone to Richard, because he cannot find it himself. Stand right there, Richard, he'll bring the microphone to you. Hold on one second, I'll come right to you.
But the testing of weapons, traditionally in military terms, has always been an excuse for
You can
a
hold the
war.
mic, give him the mic. Give it to us, put it in his hand, please.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead, you can go ahead and talk.
You know, you got me interested now, but have you ever noticed that on the back of a microwave oven it says federal law prohibits you to take off this back part of the microwave?
Yes.
And so naturally I wanted to see what was inside the microwave. And And microwaves, at least the kind that cook food, they excite the water molecule, and people are full of water molecules, so it excites our bodies when we're hit by microwaves. So at that time, this is 15 or 20 years ago, there was a big problem with fire ants
Yeah.
in the southern part of the United States. So I designed and built a microwave weapon against fire ants and killer bees, that you would focus it on the heel, and then it would kill the larvae, pupae, and the adult ants and bees. And it was not allowed through the patent process because it had weapons potential.
Okay. And probably because the patent was already taken. I'm going to talk about that coming up. We'll talk about whether or not that patent is taken. How many people have been paying attention? Thank you, Richard. Give Richard a hand for that. That's some good information. How many people have been listening to late night talk radio? And as they've been listening to late night talk radio, you're hearing now about the bee situation.
Right. Months
So months after where you heard it where? Here. We talked about it here first. I hope you people realize that I'm struggling, and I get this out to you, and I hear Art Bell or any other person talk about it, and he gets big praise for it. Well, let me tell you something, and I'm telling you that's listening on TV right now. I talk about it long before these misfits do, and I'm sick and tired of being shown up by these guys. I was on the top because I had a radio show, because I was kissing the butt of corporate radio, and everybody thought it was cool back then. And now it's hard for me even to try and get any recognition for the shit that I'm bringing to this place and to everywhere else. I'm in the struggle too, people. And I am wanting your support, not in money. I don't ask you for a penny. But I hope, and there are people like Robert and others, and Frank, and everybody here at Dantes, but I hope that when you go out and you post on websites and forums and everything else you do, that you mention groundzeromedia.org. Because I'm beginning to feel like that the information that I'm giving here is getting picked apart and taken apart by people like Alex Jones, Jeff Rentz, and Coast to Coast AM. And Stevie himself came on here the other week and said that he was hearing some stuff that we covered here at the lounge directly. And it's because they can steal from me because I don't have the money to say stop stealing my information. I want everybody to have it, sure, but these guys are making bank on this shit. And I have to make my rent payments too. And I'm not asking for money, what I'm asking is for respect. And we can get people to start listening and watching these shows more and hearing it here first instead of hearing it secondhand by some moron who has a call me if you die line. I swear to God. Call me if you are a furry or a plushie line. I mean, that's funny. I mean, I do funny stuff too, but I certainly know when and where I can draw the line, hopefully, and not be so absurd that people will tune me out or fall asleep to what I'm saying. And believe me, I am mounting all kinds of what I can say, armor and arsenal against these lies that I keep hearing on all these talk shows, and they're getting a lot of money for it. It's going to change. It's got to change. Because this stuff is important. We can laugh about it. We can joke about it. But most of all, we can report about it. We can report about it in the right places.
Well, the thing too, Clyde, just take a breather for a second, is that we don't have an axe to grind here at Ground Zero Lounge. I think you all appreciate that.
I have a couple axes to grind sometimes.
Oh, well, personal axes, but I'm saying we don't have a political bias. We don't have an intellectual bias. What we're trying to do is cut through the bullshit and find the truth. And the truth isn't easy to find. When we're talking about the weather and the spins and the predictions and the repredictions and this god-awful circus of a re-election campaign, I mean, how sick can a person get to really take that seriously as just another form of Roman bread and circuses?
That's all it is. Go ahead.
It's all a joke.
Extremely tired of it. I was talking kind of in passing with a couple of teenagers the other day, and reminded them, who cares about, about the election at this point? Nobody's officially a candidate, and it's over a year away.
Well, they want you to pay attention now because they got bullshit to sell you.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you something right now. You're going to hear from me first of all here. How many people think that the Democrats are going to save government? Oh God, you guys are brilliant. Thank you so much. I want to let you know that this is the biggest setup I have seen in a while. And if anyone is to believe that either Hillary Clinton or somebody like that is going to come and save this sucking chest wound we call this country, they're sadly mistaken. These people are getting, it's a popularity race by money. 25 million, 26 million, million here, million there. And, Al Gore's already got his million from his movie and an Academy Award. He got to run for president, he'd win overnight. This is what it is now. It's a popularity contest to vote in the most immoral son of a bitch you can put in office. And we follow right in line because it's not good to say don't vote. Oh yes it is. I'm not voting for anyone who doesn't have my morals, which simple morals like I don't kill people. Simple morals like I don't cheat people out of their money. I don't up gas prices so people have to thumb rights to work every day. They're controlling everything and we're thinking, oh, it'll adjust. It'll change. We can do this, and it all works itself out because America always seems to pull up itself by its bootstraps and does what it needs to. Well, tell that to the people who were hurt in Katrina. They didn't pull up their bootstraps fast enough, did they? And they're still trying to rebuild with their pride intact. We're still trying to rebuild this goddamn war, and people coming home with missing arms and missing legs, still coming by with their pride intact. How many people are broken right now with their pride intact? Yeah, everybody, white, black, yellow, red, purple, they're all slaves now. They've got their wish, they've got their directive, and they're going to continue to push that directive on you, and we will continue to follow because we have no choice. And where there is no choice, evil seems to be the place to have it. Because if you're told you have a choice, there really isn't a choice, that is the worst evil of all.
The illusion of freedom is the worst evil, and I think that's exactly what is being propagated in America today. What we're fighting against, this slavery is freedom is the Orwellian cry, and we say, bullshit. Slavery is not freedom.
I did have one other thing I wanted to add about the going to the moon thing. We talk about a lot down here about codename projects like Echelon and HARP and all this other stuff. So maybe we're going to the moon is just a code name that for something really big.
Yeah, called Propping the Military Industrial Complex, like they did back in '69.
Yeah, and so then the code name got out to the public. Oh wow, we're going to the moon. So we better get some pictures of actually going to the moon out of this. And people won't think anything less of it.
Well, they're already thinking things less of it, just like they did when they wanted to know whether or not Lucille Ball was having a boy or a girl after, the moon landing. They got bored after the second time. They got bored. They didn't want to see it anymore. And I think that they're not getting the kind of response they were hoping to get because people know what's going on here. We're putting nuclear weapons up in space. We're putting lasers up in space. We have weapons now that are in use that are causing the weather problems. I'm going to get into that in a minute. And there's something called THEL. Does anybody know what THEL is? THEL. Testing high energy lasers. THEL project, testing high energy lasers. They're already doing it. Raytheon, other companies, Livermore, these companies are already testing high energy lasers, and you know where they're testing them? The Middle East. They're testing them in the Middle East, and when you fire that kind of how many people have seen it's called The Science of Star Wars? Anybody by that, by applause? It was actually, and it talked about the lightsaber. It said the lightsaber will be an impossibility because there has to be a mini nuclear reactor in that lightsaber, and since we cannot control the density of what goes in there to create that laser, if we were to fire one, it would cause such an explosion And it would cause such a problem that it would devastate an entire city block, or maybe even an entire city. Because it's such compacted nuclear energy that it would cause devastation beyond our imagination. So if you have that power of a laser, or you have that power of a beam, or a microwave beam, or something of that nature that is huge, you would be causing mass devastation wherever it's employed. And you would not know what hit you if that was used and deployed. Yet Rumsfeld and General Myers say that they're already using these things. And they started using them around the time that Mr. Al Gore in Inconvenient Truth says the temperature of the planet soared beyond any wildest imagination. It's because they're heating your atmosphere with these weapons. They're using these weapons to create bigger ways of communication and better ways of killing you. Not you yet, but people like you who happen to bleed and stink and fart and do all the things that you do yourself. They just happen to be brown. They just happen to wear little things around their heads and ride camels. That's the difference. Pretty soon it won't matter what color you are, where your eyes are, and what you do. They're going to make sure that you're one of those people that may wind up in the crosshairs of their lasers that are up there above your head. Go ahead.
Say the thing about what you said earlier about getting recognition for bringing stories like the Beast story here to Ground Zero Lounge while you have 2-bit radio announcers, bringing it secondhand. Today's the story about, have you heard about the Don Imus situation?
Yes, I have. I was going to bring that up.
Yeah. Where he calls the Rutgers basketball team the nappy-headed hose.
Mm-hmm.
And then when he tries to apologize, he says, "You people," to Al Sharpton.
Yeah, you people.
Proud you people.
Do you remember?
But
oh, go ahead.
no, I was going to say that maybe starting from there on the high end of CBS radio, if you lose a DJ there, then the trickle-down effect, and we'll get these 2-bit radio announcers off of terrestrial or satellite radio, where it should be.
How many people were here when we did the Michael Richards story? By applause.
Very important.
Who did we show on the screen prior to Michael Richards going off on the blacks? Don Imus. Do you remember that? He was on MSNBC and he was talking shit about the blacks. And he was calling them names then. And I said, listen to this guy. He gets away with it, yet Michael Richards has to go on national TV and apologize. This guy, Imus, calls black people worse things than I would even say. Basically puts out every racial stereotype out of his mouth. Then he gets suspended for 2 weeks. I'd fire his ass, by the way. Gets suspended for 2 weeks. Yes, you'd applaud that. Fire Don Imus. My applause. The guy is an old son of a bitch who was funnier when he was on coke. Okay? He's not on coke, and now I just had a goddamn grumpy son of a bitch. I'm not Imus. I'm just warning NBC. They're all having other blah blah blah. Son of a bitch. He needs to be fired, and I'm saying that. I signed my name to that. Don Imus, you need to be fired. You're a grumpy old fuck and you need to be off the air. Yeah, keep plotting, it's great.
But there again, that's a case of that internal atmosphere. Let's say he always was a bigot.
He was!
Yeah, he always has been. But the point is that he can't control himself, his interior atmosphere anymore. It just comes
These
out.
people are blowing at the seams and they want to take it out on somebody.
Yeah,
Take it out on the people they've always hated. But what I'm getting at is that, yeah, people like Don Imus who get away with this shit all the time. People like Rush Limbaugh get away with this shit all the time. You get all these people getting paid good money to be there, and we tolerate it. If you want something good, demand something good. Demand it. If someone does something that you feel is, now I'm not saying being a prude, not having a little fun, because we're all, I find it very interesting that I can't say the F word on the air, but if somebody hits their finger with a hammer, they're gonna go, oh golly gee whiz. Fuck you. You're gonna say, fuck, God, shit. You're gonna be pissed. That's so hypocritical of us, isn't it? Some guy slips and says the F word on the radio, and we're already gonna write a fine up for it. No one gets hurt by the word fuck. Fuckity fuck you. I'm gonna say fuck all I want. And I can say it, I'm online, and I can say it on the air. Well, I have said the F word on the air before, no one cared. I said horse shit on the air before one time because Orrin Hatch said bullshit. I said, if a senator can say bullshit, I'm going to say horse shit. And I did. And no one came after me. No one came out, and I was very happy about it. I didn't make a big deal out of it. I make a big deal out of it now because I'm on the internet. But I'm not going to do it on the air because I'm not stupid. Anybody listen to Rick Emerson today? Do you know what he bleeped me for?
Yeah, what did he bleep you for?
He bleeped me because, and I'm going to say this is really funny, he asked me about the group Ace of Base. How many people are familiar with the dancing group Ace of Base by applause? They're a bunch of fucking white Scandinavian people who basically phonetically sing their songs. They don't speak English, right? I hated that band when they came out because I thought their music sounded like, and I said this to Rick, a bunch of monkeys pounding on drums. He thought I was being racist. For a bunch of white Scandinavian idiots who can't play fucking music and sing? Because I called them monkeys. Or I called the music sounding like it was monkeys playing drums. Now, what's really funny is, I don't know if you know this or not, and I was talking about this thing. I work next to a woman who was Somalian, whose father was the king of Somalia before he was taken out by the Civil War. Her name is Ayan. And Ayan and I had the greatest laugh about him bleeping me for that statement. Because she said to me, she said, what's really funny is half the shit she gets told when people see her. Like, for example, they say things to her like, so when you were in Somalia, did you like walk around naked? I bet you just want to get home and rip your clothes off because you're just used to being naked all the time. And she just laughs at the ignorance because she says she can't believe how ignorant people can be and how uptight people can be about certain things. Now, if a person is speaking out of hatred about a race, whether it be Mexican, black, Chinese, Japanese, or what have you, you can pretty much tell what it is. You can tell that it's racism, or you can tell that it's racial epithets with the intent of hate. But just jumping up and down and screaming because somebody says the N-word or nigger or whatever you want to use, the no word as we call it, jumping up and down and freaking out about it, it's not going to get anybody's attention except some uptight white person who says, we need to be more sensitive. Yeah, we do. And you know, it's funny because none of us in good conversation and with common sense are going to talk that way to anybody because we give them what is known as respect. And I would no sooner call anyone anything like that if I respect them. And these people lack respect. They poison the ideal. And they do it because they're paid big money to poison the ideal. They are paid good money to lie to you, they are paid good money to manipulate you, and they are paid good money to get away with the shit that they talk about. And if I was to say anything on the air that would get me into trouble, I would have to be responsible for what I say. And I would have to apologize. There are many times on this stage where I've said I've been wrong about a lot of things. I've either speculated in the wrong direction or I've said something that is totally wrong. And I do it all the time. I do it more times than I can count because a lot of the shit that I come up with comes out of my head while I'm standing here. And I tell people all the time, you try and do that without having to go to an internet or a book or what have you. It's hard to do. But I do it anyway. So tonight I brought notes. Because there's something I want to talk to you about. Something I want to demonstrate to you. And that was first the Donald Rumsfeld thing and the General Myers thing about how they're using weapons of mass destruction on the people of the Middle East, and they're using them on you. They're using them on you. I want to tell you that I was talking with Sarah Kirkpatrick in the audience tonight, and we came up with something that we want to work on, or I want to work on, called the convenient excuse. We have the inconvenient truth. The inconvenient truth, global warming, is the convenient excuse of all of your government officials to basically lie to you and tell them that the responsibility of the Earth's solar variation and greenhouse gases are your fault. Every single damn one of you, if you've driven a car or have done anything to bring greenhouse gases upon us, it is your fault and you will pay. And anyone who says anything that is contrary to their little theory about global warming can be a heretic, because what they're saying is ex cathedra. But, I said on the Rick Emerson show something today that nobody believed, but it's true. The National Oceanic Atmospheric Association, better known as the NOAA, the NOAA organization, have now been silenced by George W. Bush edict that states that if anyone sees a weather anomaly, like snow in Florida, or snow in Houston, Texas, or tornadoes in Salt Lake City, or tidal waves in the middle of Kansas, then they are not to speculate or otherwise theorize why this is happening, because that would cause unnecessary panic upon the people of the United States. In other words, if you wake up tomorrow and there is a rain of fiery ants coming out of the sky, fuck you if you speculate. Screw you if you open the Bible and say, the Lord said this is going to happen. John the Revelator had a hallucination and shit. He saw hellfire and ants and shit coming down out of the sky. And I don't see it. Oh, God damn, I'm gonna... No. Can't do it. No. Can't do it. Well, you know what? I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. I'm going to speculate tonight why our weather is acting all higgledy-piggledy. I love that word, higgledy-piggledy. You need to use it more in sentences. Everything's all higgledy-piggledy today. I'm going to tell you why it's all higgledy-piggledy right here. I was kind of weirded out by the whole Solomon Island thing. Anybody been following the Solomon Island earthquake by applause? If you haven't, I want you to go home and Google it. I want you to look it up. I want you to read about it. Why? Because an earthquake that hit the Solomon Islands raised the islands 7 meters.
All right.
It raised the island 22 feet, ladies and gentlemen. Something pushed the ground up 22 feet in the Solomon Islands, causing a tsunami and killing I don't know how many people. 22 feet. Now, I'm going to give you some more notes to think about. How many people remember the post-holiday tsunami in Indonesia by applause? I hope all of you do. Come on, if you're not applauding, you're an idiot. Okay, so you remember that thing, right? Now, I'm going to tell you about that. Let me state it for the record. The earthquake that hit Indonesia was 9.5 on the Richter scale. That's one of the largest earthquakes ever in the history of the world that they've recorded. Okay? So what, while you let this earthquake bounce off your back because you think, well, earthquakes happen all the time, Clyde. Think about this. The earth, when it got that earthquake, when it hit that area, it shortened the day by 2 seconds. It caused the earth to wobble on its axis, knocked it off degrees, and it caused the surface of that area to raise. The whole area raised, and the earth wobbled and rumbled for days after that earthquake hit Indonesia. So either what happened is, A, it was an earthquake, a fluke, weird earthquake experience, or something fell from space and hit the earth, causing it to wobble, and it was Shoemaker Levy 9, the comet and the meteor that hit Jupiter, the same thing happened there. Or something triggered it. Same with the Solomon Island situation. Something triggered it. I was reading an article about the Solomon Island earthquake. Do you know what the villagers there said happened before the earthquake hit? They heard a crack of thunder so loud that it frightened them. Thunder in a clear blue sky rumbled throughout the area before the whole island rose, and the reef at the bottom in the oceans came up. They saw the reef rise. If I were there, I would once again say, oh my God, like the book of Revelation, Jesus, I'd be that. Because that is biblical shit right there. That is stuff you read in the Bible. And I'm not saying that it's biblical, what I'm saying is you read about that shit in the Bible. You always do. That's crazy stuff. You were going to say something.
Yeah, I just wanted to add about the Indonesian typhoon that supposedly it's changed the orbit of the moon permanently.
It has? I didn't hear about that.
It was just another one of the major things that, who knows if it's real or not. I haven't actually got on to look at the research, but there was a lot of stuff in the planet's orbit, the moon's orbit, the tides, and the weather patterns and everything else.
Right.
That would supposedly have changed massively.
Right. Now, if you go back to the movie Inconvenient Truth, and you come up with that convenient excuse of global warming, and how it's all your fault this shit's going on, I would like to present something to Al Gore, and I'm going to present it for you right now, and I'm going to read it to you, and if you think it's boring, fine, but I don't.
Is this about his house?
No, has nothing to do with his house. I'm not that dumb. I dig, okay? This is from the U.S. Patent Office, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to read a number of patents to you. Please don't be bored, because these are going to scare the holy shit out of you.
They're pretty boring.
U.S. Patent 4686605. These are patents that were issued in 1987 and were filed in 1985. Method and apparatus for altering a region in the Earth's atmosphere, ionosphere, and/or magnetosphere. These are patents that the U.S. government has. Number 2 patent, U.S. Patent 5038664. Method for producing a shell of relativistic particles at an altitude above the Earth's surface. That means they can create a shell of electricity around the Earth to either block or keep in or take out rays. They have that patent on the invention. Now that was issued back in the 80s too. You think that from the 80s till now they have that technology in operation? Donald Rumsfeld said, well, sometimes we use it. Number 3, U.S. Patent 4712155. Method and apparatus for creating an artificial electron cyclotron heating region of plasma. That means they can create a huge plasma ball in the sky, and then they can move it anywhere they want and explode it at any time. This was issued in the 1980s. U.S. Patent 5068669. Power beaming system. Does anybody know what that means? Power beaming system. Laser beams. Cool. Patent 4817495. Defense system for discriminating between objects in space. That's a meteor, that's a satellite, and that's the aliens, people. They can tell the difference. They know. So when they accidentally hit a rocket and they didn't mean to, oops, they know. They have the patent, and as Donald Rumsfeld says, sometimes we reach in and we use the technologies. And now the final one that I think everyone should pay attention to. I want you to think Bikini Atoll when I read this. U.S. Patent 4873928. Apparatus for creating nuclear-sized explosions without radiation. When we were in the Solomon Islands, we heard a boom, a crack of thunder so harsh that we didn't know what it was. And then our island rose 22 feet. Something the size of 9.5 hit Indonesia, causing the Earth to shorten one day, causing the Earth to wobble, causing the moon to change orbit. Something that big can explode because we don't have lightsabers, people. We don't have that power, people. We don't have any of that stuff. But the patents are sitting in the patent office in the United States of America. And Donald Rumsfeld and General Myers both said that every once in a while, when these types of things are out there, we can reach in and use them whenever we feel it necessary. So when you hear about people sitting in their cars in the Middle East with their heads gone and their arms missing but their clothes still intact, when you hear about buses that go from the size of the bus to the size of a Volkswagen, when you hear about people vanishing without a trace, when you hear about strange lightning coming out of the skies or huge explosions and no explanation where they're coming from, or hums or rumbles, or you hear of whales beaching themselves, or birds flying out of the flock and dying somewhere, or bees that don't hang out in hives because their magnetic radar has been screwed up, so they just up and leave, or they fall and die, and no one knows why. They're lying to you. When they're blaming you they're lying to you. When your money is going to finance this type of shit, when they've got it, and they're using it, and they're not telling you, and when their goal set on their website is to control space by 2020, it's just not a moon, people. It's a space station. To quote Obi-Wan Kenobi, it's no moon. It's the new space station. And that new space station can fire on anything and destroy it. Yeah, this is science fiction, isn't it? It's all what our grandmas and grandpas read about in the comic books. And it's what we all heard about when George Lucas brought Darth Vader on the screen. I told you should never consciously betray the rebellion. We'll aim our lasers at Dantooine or wherever. It's a reality now. They don't call it Star Wars just for the pretty pictures. It is Star Wars. Next.
I just want to add, just from something that we said a couple weeks ago. I think they have to do all this stuff remotely. It's because I think if they could, there's no doubt in my mind they'd have men up there controlling and firing these weapons at will. When, you know, they can't, I'm just saying, I still don't believe, I don't believe there are men up there with them.
No.
Okay?
They're firing. They're firing.
They are, but it's all remotely controlled.
Yeah, they're firing from
Pointing out.
Texas.
Exactly.
They're firing from Colorado. They're watching a video game. They're firing from Dugway. We had the pictures from Dugway. They're firing with a little joystick, and their Wii game is up there.
I agree, but think about it. It would be much more effective and much more efficient to have men up there. I mean, they could accomplish a lot more, a lot quicker if they could do it that way.
Really? They're doing it fine without men up there.
No, the problem, Bob, is the internal atmosphere. Because not only the cosmic rays, but you get these people, what if they go haywire and start shooting us, right, or instead of them?
You know, that too. But
What about computers?
I'm simply saying I don't think it's physically possible for men to be up there rotating high enough to accomplish these things and not be killed by it.
Remember last year when the Air Force general said, we have these weapons prepared to use against protesters? The experimental, it's the same weapons. They're just waiting for a reason to use them. The infrared,
I saw something just today about some guy, some soldier had to be hospitalized for burns off of a microwave weapon demonstration that they just did. Yeah,
General Myers, I think that's the point. I think that it's that we have, I think from the beginning of this conflict, I think General Franks has been very open to looking at new things, if there are new things available, and has been willing to put them into the fight, even before they've been fully wrung out. In other words, we will put these weapons into war, even if we haven't tested the after effects of their usage. He comes right out and says in his press conference, he says, we're willing to put them in the fight, even before they've been fully wrung out. And I think that's not referring to these particular cases of directed energy or high-powered microwaves, but sure, and we will continue to do that.
That's the American way.
That's what we're doing. Simply stated, we have a weapon that is able to expand energy so wide throughout an entire area that it can mimic an earthquake, a tornado, a hurricane, or anything else. And all they have to do is report that it was that. Because you have a gag order saying that you can't speculate about anything but a natural phenomenon. So if some strange lightning bolt comes down and knocks you off your ass, they can tell you that God did it. Or they can say that it was just a natural weather occurrence, even though there was no cloud in the sky to cause that lightning bolt. You understand what I'm trying to say now? The weatherman can tell you a lie if he has to save his job.
And get paid for it.
And get paid for it. I told everybody on the radio today that I had some very interesting information. This is information that I'm letting out right now. They'll probably end up on some talk show somewhere. But I want you to know that I want you to take this information. I want you to go home and I want you to look it up for yourself. U.S. patents on energy beam weaponry. Look up when HARP was first organized. THEL, T-H-E-L, the High Energy Laser Test Projects. General Myers, General Franks, Donald Rumsfeld, and their thoughts on using microwave beam technology on the Middle East. And how they use that energy in Afghanistan and in Iraq. And they call it the New World Order. They call it shock and awe. They didn't know what hit them when that came because it was shocking, and it was awe-filled, and it was frightening. Shock and awe, the fire from heaven, Prometheus, robbing fire from the gods, bringing fire down from the sky, diluvium ignis. It's all been talked about before. You can look all these terms up. I'm not just pulling them out of my ass just to get you to laugh or to be scared. These are all things that are realities that have been thought up in the minds of men for centuries, and now we have the technology to act upon these things. As Larry said, the atmosphere in here is allowing for the atmosphere out there to change. And it's in their control, but out of ours. And the only way we can change everything is to change what's in here. Like I've been saying for the past week, 2 weeks. Change what's in the heart. Change what's in the mind. And realize that you have to start first. And you start by telling people and spreading the word and saying where you're hearing about it and telling more people to come out to Ground Zero Lounge. Because we want to fill this place with people, and we have made this. We have made this the most successful show of its kind in Portland. There have been other people that have attempted this. There was a guy by the name of Ace Hayes that did a great job before he passed away. Ace Hayes, by applause, yes. And he's the only guy that I can remember that did something like this and it succeeded. So in the spirit of Ace Hayes, a Portlander that was before his time, we should continue this type of discussion, and we should be proud that we discuss it and not be ashamed and not walk out when it's uncomfortable or bow our heads when it's uncomfortable. But we should make it more comfortable by talking about it and expressing our opinions. And even if it's a challenging thought, and even if it's unpopular to say it anyway. Because no one's going to figure out what's in your mind unless you open your mouth. Unless you use your voice as your weapon of choice. I'm Clyde Lewis, this is Ground Zero Lounge. Good night.
Thank you for coming. See you next week.